continue our press briefings now. The topic is start of International Charitable Marathon. Ukraine is me, and the founders of the movement are invited to take the floor. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I'm Vyacheslav Boguslavsky. Just 2 minutes after that, I'll have to participate in a live talk show, and I think that my brothers and sisters will be available after my leave. So starting from tomorrow, in all Ukraine, we are starting the marathon that is called Ukraine is Me. And what does it mean? The marathon, why it was designed, what for, and how in the course of evolution of our consciousness we managed to achieve that. We are all people who have been through the Maidan, and we clearly understand that for us, the Maidan is still next to our hearts, and it's a decisive moment, starting from the point of the Maidan and through the war. The problem is being solved whether we are going to stay as a state, regardless of our ethnic backgrounds, regardless of our language. We understand that we are all Ukrainians, and without Ukraine, we won't have any purpose, any cause, and we'll lose the mission. The most important thing is horizontal consolidation of people, identifying themselves as Ukrainians from the point of view not of ethnic background, but self-identification. We entered the Maidan with our message. We're not slaves. You cannot treat us as slaves, like slaves. Now our mind is in a different state. It's the state when we understand that Ukraine is me. And everything happening in Ukraine, everything that is developing, we are perceiving through the prism of this understanding. We are the source and we are the outcome, the input and the output in the space and time that is called Ukraine. And we know that we are not alone. There are many people like us. And we have to demonstrate that because according to our true belief, and we would like the world to know any aggressor will meet, not just with 30,000 military personnel, but people who identify themselves as Ukrainian. I don't know how many of us will be there. We know that there are many people, but I know for sure that if we demonstrate that, plans of possible aggressors and people who review Ukraine as a map, as a game field for their game, they'll understand at last that they'll have to deal with a multitude of people who have this understanding and this philosophy. Ukraine is me. My friends will discuss this in more detail, particular detail. I would like to say 2 other things. First of all, I would like to express my deep appreciation, my gratitude, and my deep excitement. We are being joined every day by 2 or 3 towns. Melitopol joined in an hour ago, and they're joining the action. And this is the right Ukraine. And now this is not just an action. It's a marathon, meaning that a multitude of people, many people will say that Ukraine is me. You have to deal with me if you deal with Ukraine. This is the most important thing. This is about the words of appreciation, because Maidan is going on in terms of aspirations, in terms of creativity, where again deep into that atmosphere when all the people without any reservation, any personal gain are doing this jointly when they understand that this is the right thing to do. Another thing I would like to say, aren't you afraid that nobody will join? They're asking us. No, we are not afraid. We will be there, and there's a lot of us, and we understand that we are there, and we believe that there are many people like that. Yes, maybe somebody will disregard them, somebody will turn a blind ear, but we believe that there will be some people, and you're all welcome, invited, and the nuances will be discussed by my friends here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues and co-thinkers. I'd like to add to what Vyacheslav said, to tell you about what's hidden in the message Ukraine is me. Ukraine is me is the highest degree of personal responsibility of every Ukrainian for their future, for their acts, and our event and our marathon has a name to wake up the sense of responsibility in every Ukrainian, because the events in the East have happened to a large extent because of our desire to transfer responsibility, because we waited for the kind Tsar, and the Ukrainians who are independently creating their future would not allow for this to happen. Ukraine is me is also an element of information war, because many people in Russia and many people in the East and in Crimea think that a band of radicals and fascists have seized power in Ukraine, and someone has to be rescued from someone. In order to dispel this myth, we have to demonstrate that Ukrainians are united in their desire for changes and for their future, that they are not led by anyone, and they want to achieve the future. And the Ukrainian diaspora is the fifth numerically in the world. This is 6 million people who are waiting for the signal from Ukraine to join us. So this event marathon is also aimed at them. The marathon starts tomorrow, will last until the 29th of November. In every city where there's an initiative group which wants to tell the world, Ukraine is me, tomorrow in Kiev at 6 p.m. and in some regional centers, people come to a square, they have candles with them and symbols for support to the warriors in the anti-terrorist operation zone, because this is very much needed by them to support their moral state. We should not underestimate the importance of these things. Also, warm clothes and thermoses, and our volunteers will pass this on to the fighters in the front. And then at 6:10 p.m. we make a huge tridents, Ukrainian coat of arms, and we also pronounce the oath, Ukraine is me. You can read it on a page, UA is me. This is a laconic confirmation of the fact that we are Ukrainians, that we are responsible, and that we do not have anything in common with the Soviet mindset. You can also sign those oaths, and through our Russian partners, Russian opposition, we will also make this public in the citadel of our eastern neighbor, and then we will sing the anthem of Ukraine altogether. I'd like to add that the National Cosmic Space Agency of Ukraine is the partner of the marathon, and if the clouds do not hamper us, then we will have photos from the space of what has happened. We also will film the event from quadrocopters, and by the end of the marathon, a documentary film will be made with the participation of heroes from the anti-terrorist operation zone and with the participation of the citizens who every day confirm that Ukraine is them. I'd like also to mention our partners and co-organizers. The organizers of the marathon are the Union of Volunteers of the Anti-Terrorist Operation, the New System Initiative, and the Club Colo Circle. Also, the partners are movie company Adamant, the choir Chrещатик, and the initiative Varta, the watch. And I'd like to address Ukrainians all over the world. I think that the events on Maidan and how Ukraine now, in unequal circumstances, with a enemy that is stronger, is still winning. This has shown that the time has come, and you have to display your Ukrainian nature and say and state, Ukraine is myself. And we think that everywhere in the world you will see the burning coats of arms, the tridents, and everywhere you will hear Ukraine is me. Good afternoon. I'm Vladislav Garanin. I'm one of the co-founders of the Union of Volunteers of Anti-Terrorist Operation, and the co-organizer of Ukraine is me initiative. As a participant in combat, from the point of view of those who are in the front line, this marathon that demonstrates the unity of those who are in civil life and those who are there in the trenches in the anti-terrorist operation, which of course is a full-fledged war. The importance of this marathon for the fighters is significant, because it shows that here in the rear and there on the front line in the east, we are sharing the responsibility for the integrity and independence of our state. It is important also to know that, and I know this from my own experience, the fighters feel abandoned because they were sent to the middle of nowhere. They were not given arms. Well, at least in the beginning. At the moment, we get some supplies, but it's not very high quality and not very systematic. No weapons, no munitions, no food, and people feel themselves abandoned and marooned. In spring, in the beginning of summer, when I came there, a guy went there in his home, in his sandals, and he was on the front line for 2 months in sandals. I don't even tell about food. I'm telling about what will provide for the survival of people. There is cold, there is frost there, and people there are just dying. And it's a shame to die not because of the enemy bullet, but because we are abandoned by our own state from hunger and cold, because the state has forgotten about its own citizens. Thanks to the volunteer and the concerned citizens who buy food and clothes for their own money, so the guys there are more or less supplied, but the state is still forgetting about its people. It's not volunteers, but the officials who should take care of this. So this marathon shows that we are sharing the responsibility. There will be a collection of volunteer donations of warm clothes. Please bring warm clothes, ammunition, some souvenirs. You may think that souvenirs are not important, but they are really important for the fighters. Some letters, some messages, some stripes with the call for them to survive or come back, because they really warm you up in the trenches, especially during the cold. This is a huge moral support for the fighters who are losing their faith. So we will collect material and moral help, and it will be delivered to the front line. And Zhenya told you that there will be a number of performances that will demonstrate our unity, so I invite everyone. And this is going to morally influence those, inspire those who are there, because they are waiting for your support. Good afternoon. I'm Volodymyr Savchuk. I am the coordinator of the volunteer movement of the Union of Volunteers of Anti-Terrorist Oppression. I stood on Maidan. I was very active there. First, I was there as a member of medical service, and in the bloodiest times of February, I was a commandant of the St. Alexander Cathedral Catholic Church. After Maidan, I continued to be a volunteer and actively helped people who suffered and were at the military hospital in Kiev with medicines and looking after them. So now I'm engaged in a voluntary movement. The Maidan has changed my life drastically. My awareness, my conscience has changed after the Maidan. I'm a mother of two, and I very well understand that I can invest all my strength, all my opportunities into changing Ukraine for the sake of the future of my children and my grandchildren. That's why I am ready to work further and to help, to cooperate with any organization that think the way I think. I have joined the marathon Ukraine is Me as a volunteer, and my colleagues have already told you that at the moment moral support to the fighters who are there, people who are in the combat zone, is very, very necessary. So while the marathon is held, we will collect the so-called symbols of our love, of our integrity, of our understanding for those people. Those could be charms and talismans. This could be letters, some drawings that we will send to the front line with the groups of volunteers that are going to go there. I also initiated an action to involve children. We will sign the symbolic yellow and blue ribbons with wishes for our fighters, like, for instance, God save you and thank you for protecting our motherland. Then these ribbons will be passed over to the front line so that maybe they carry it on their uniform or as a handband during the entire marathon. And we understood that every day we get more and more volunteer groups addressing us, so we would like to say that we are ready to accept some gifts during the entire marathon term. Over recently, since I started to take part in preparing this marathon, a lot of creative organizations addressed me from Kiev. I'm very thankful. Last week we had a charity concert by our Kiev Municipal Chamber Choir, Chreshchatyk, headed by Pavlo Strelets, and they also agreed to sing the hymn with the people on the Independence Square. I also sent letters to all Kiev vocal and choir collectives to come to the Maidan and to sing together with the people. So I just wanted people who can sing to join us and help us in singing the anthem. I also want to tell that this action is very important for those people who at the moment and over this entire period have been engaged in volunteer activity. You know, our victory won't come very soon, but it will come. And I very often get addresses from volunteers for the understanding how tired they are. And we understand very well that the prolongation of this term of the war is exhausting people, and including the volunteers, of course. So for volunteers, this marathon is as important as for other people, and everyone can join in the idea Ukraine is me. Everyone can bring some usefulness to our country. So I address all the volunteer organizations in the entire Ukraine, come out to the squares and tell, Ukraine is me, let's sing the anthem, let's light the trident, and let's continue this marathon. Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Volodymyr Savchuk. I am a organizer of Ukraine is Me action. I am a participant in Maidan. Why I am here? From the very first day when I appeared in Maidan, it was understood that this is the next step to great changes in the country. And these changes, initiated by the Maidan, Maidan has not ended for me. And I understand that the things that we have started during Maidan have to somehow be implemented today as well. This is why, having initiated the Ukraine is Me action event as a version of the national idea, I am a Ukrainian, I represent part of the state. What have I done for this country as a personality? I think that during the process of consolidation of initiatives that will be created to initiate this marathon in different cities, these initiatives could become a foundation for creation of a active movement of sorts in order to change the system in our state. This is why I suggest that everybody joins our marathon, and I really think that expect everyone to come to the central square to light the candle of trident in their hearts and in the hearts of their cities. Ukraine is I. Come to us, we're waiting for you. You know, it's really, while listening to you, I understood that this is a very positive and creative action that is very interesting. It is very good that children will be involved, because this is our future. This is the mentality that we are bringing up now. But could you tell us, do you expect some support from authorities, or are you totally removed from the authorities? And at the moment, how many cities and towns are going to take part in the marathon? Well, we have not appealed to the central authorities on purpose, because we built this event on the principle of horizontal ties, same as happened in Maidan and same as the volunteer movement has evolved. But of course, some authorities can help us, and some departments of the city administration in Kiev have helped us. At the moment, 7 cities have joined in the action. 13 as of today.
Participating in this action, they do it on their own, use their own funds for the printouts from the candles, media support, no public finance involved. It's all the grassroots. So are there any initiatives covering or reaching out to the eastern part of Ukraine? Do you mean participation of the combatants or civilians? Civilians, of course. Well, for civilians, maybe I wanted to answer. For the combatants, we having plans to go there. It will be some kind of video interview, not to be forgotten. People like ourselves, they already know what the value of their lives is put against. It's independence of their state. So they demonstrate that they are like us, we are like you, and they do not want to be forgotten. Part of the video has been developed already, and we would like to combine this, the volunteer assistance help, and to make it some multi-purpose, to also have a video and come back with participation of the combatants as far as their availability can reach. Of course, it will be in some kind of interval. They will also sing the anthem. They all need our support, and we need your support. So please don't let us down. Speaking of the communities in the east, well, Zaporizhia, people already, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, Mariupol, Melitopol, Slovyansk. No, not Slovyansk, but there's still time. There's still time. And nobody prevents them from joining. So let's hope that Slovyansk will also join this initiative. It's planned to have Kherson, Mykolaiv, Odessa. We established contact with them. In Odessa, it will be on the 22nd, but they are very serious about this business. For tomorrow, they're not ready, but for the 22nd, it's big scale activity with the mask show, the naked and the funny, the club of clever and ingenious, the students sketch club, which is very popular. The Maidan self-defense, Maidan people, and will be joined by many public initiatives. And their people will demonstrate unity of Ukraine, and there's also Ternopil, Rivne, Vinnytsia, Житомир, Ivano-Frankivsk, Lviv, and Chernihiv. So that's the map of the event. Thank you very much. I hope to see you here again, and we'll discuss the results of this activity, and I hope that you will be pleasantly surprised. Every Saturday we will do that, like we are starting it tomorrow, and by next weekend we'll be also doing that. Please come on the 8th It's 1800. It's the main square of your city. So now we conclude our operations. Thank you very much.